facing the police every single day.
New effort on defamation legislation. Proposal would make it easier to sue journalists. Douglas Soul. USA Today Network, Florida. A bill making it easier to sue journalists and others for defamation is now making its way through the Florida legislature and could pass this year. Sponsored by Republican State Representative Alex Andrade of Pensacola, the measure, HB 757, does not go as far as a well-publicized measure he pushed last session, which failed to go the distance despite having provisions that Governor Ron DeSantis called for. Despite the absence of several controversial provisions, the legislation has enough remaining to create concerns. That was put on display Thursday, when all but one Democrat voted against the bill when it appeared in its first committee, and multiple media and First Amendment advocates testified in opposition. They accused it of infringing constitutional rights and chilling speech. If passed into law, HB 757 would join a slew of other bad legislative ideas that in recent years have cost the citizens of the state millions of dollars in legal fees before being defeated in the nation's courts on the grounds that they were overly broad, unconstitutional, and ill-advised, said Bobby Block, executive director of the First Amendment Foundation. Andrade, though, dismissed the concerns and touts the bill as a way to protect people whose reputations have. It will not allow a person to come forward, provide pertinent information, relevant information, out of fear. Representative Ashley Gant, D. Miami. Who said journalists may be pressured to reveal an anonymous source to stave off legal jeopardy. Been harmed. Media is not engaging in sufficient self-regulation, he told the committee Thursday. By expecting people to act in good faith, they're allowed to get it wrong, but what they're not allowed to do is act so recklessly that they publish something that could harm someone's reputation without doing bare minimum due diligence. The bill passed the Civil Justice Subcommittee by a 12-4 vote. Similar Senate bills, which go further than Andrade's, haven't yet been taken up in committees. It must pass another 2 committees before it can go to the full House. Here's what HB 757 does, and here's what people are saying about it. Presumes false statements by anonymous sources actual malice. One of the most talked about parts of the bill creates a presumption that anyone publishing a false statement that relied on an anonymous source acted with actual malice, a key legal hurdle for public figures to win defamation lawsuits. There's not a single journalist who would say, yes, I've got a valid argument, valid circumstance, where I relied on a single anonymous source before publishing something that was ultimately false and harmed someone's reputation, Andrade said in defense of his bill. Those speaking out against the measure accused it of defying court precedent and chilling the use of anonymous sources. Representative Ashley Gant, D. Miami, said journalists may be pressured to reveal an anonymous source to stave off legal jeopardy, and it would affect more than journalists. It will not allow a person to come forward, provide pertinent information, relevant information, out of fear, she said. During a recent GOP presidential debate, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley bashed DeSantis' support for such a provision last year. She was countering the governor's criticism of a proposal, which she quickly retreated from, to ban anonymous social media accounts. This cracks me up because Ron is so hypocritical because he actually went and tried to push a law that would stop anonymous people from talking to the press, Haley said. Concerns of a lawsuit tourism destination. The bill also says that defamation lawsuits can be filed in any county for internet content and any county where the material was accessed for television and radio. Carol Locicero of the Tampa-based Thomas & Locicero law firm, which represents free speech and press clients, warned it would incentivize forum shopping, people suing in a jurisdiction where they think they're most likely to win. We know how long it takes to get from Pensacola to Key West, said Locicero, whose firm represents media outlets ranging from Newsmax to Gannett, the parent company of the USA Today Network, Florida. Block said he thinks Florida would become the country's libel tourism destination. And not just against journalists, as the bill applies to anyone accused of publishing defamatory statements. The bill would open up a floodgate of frivolous lawsuits against writers, broadcasters, comedians, mom and pop Facebookers who may or may not have erred in reporting or criticizing the actions of elected officials and wealthy public figures, he said. 2 amendments added to bill. Lawmakers also approved 2 amendments to the legislation Thursday, both offered by Andrade. The first would reduce the amount of money damages if a newspaper issues an apology or retraction, allowing only for actual, or compensatory, damages, usually meaning to make up for any financial loss. This simply clarifies that if the defamatory statement was also published in an article online, that newspaper still has some responsibility to retract that one because the internet is forever, Andrade said. Lo Cicero said she believes the amendment, as written, would run into First Amendment issues because it goes way too far. She worried a section of the new language would, for example, require a news outlet to delete articles about someone charged of a crime if that person was later acquitted by a jury. The other amendment requires a hearing within 60 days of a request for one on whether an accused defamatory comment is fact or opinion, and whether a fact can be proved. Lo Cicero said that was an unrealistic timeline, adding that she was involved in a case defending 55 statements. Republican State Representative Mike Beltran of Riverview, who voted for the bill, said it would decrease the cost of any frivolous litigation, allowing parties to cut through a lot of the mumbo-jumbo. AI provision. Not seen in last year's legislation but a prominent portion of Andrade's bill is a section on artificial intelligence. With the use of deepfakes now, there's plenty of circumstances where someone creates a video that makes somebody look like they're doing awful things, things that would absolutely harm their reputation and traumatize them, Andrade previously told the USA Today Network, Florida. Deepfakes are visuals altered to make someone say or do something they didn't. It allows someone to sue if content made or modified by artificial intelligence leads a viewer to believe something false about a person that's highly offensive. The legal doctrine of false light, which isn't recognized in Florida, falls under invasion of privacy. Generally, a person can be liable when portraying another individual unflatteringly in words or pictures as someone or something that person is not, according to the Free Speech Center at Middle Tennessee State University. But the Florida Supreme Court has said such suits are too similar to defamation actions. Lo Cicero said it's an unnecessary addition and those cases are already covered under defamation law. She pointed out the litigation tort reform the legislature has been involved with in recent years with the goal of reducing frivolous lawsuits. I don't think that a method of technology should be something that creates a new cause of action, she said. Background from Pensacola News Journal. This reporting content is supported by a partnership with Freedom Forum and journalism funding partners. USA Today Network Florida First Amendment reporter Douglas Soul is based in Tallahassee. He can be reached at dsoul@gannett.com. On X at Douglas Soul. Advertisement. Defamation from page C1 to